one of the best album this year in metal in general. And let me introduce Akel, the guitar player of Tesseract from UK. Welcome, Akel.
Hello. How you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, everything's good.
Yeah.
Your very new album is out, next week, right?
Oh God, it's come up that quick. Yeah.
15
That's
September.
right. Yeah, next week. That's correct. Yeah, yeah. It's come up quick. Been working on it for so long, I've kind of forgotten what's going on. But yeah, it's insane.
It's a long way, right?
Yep.
To record such a piece of art like this.
That's very kind.
A lot of different emotions through the album, and of course, an excellent production. Did you produce again? You're in your studio, right?
Yes, that's right. I mean, we recorded it down in Middle Farm Studios in Devon. It's a lovely studio, just away from everywhere, in the middle of nowhere. So there's no distractions. It's just a band, just focusing on music. You can't, get easily distracted. So that was fun, just to really focus on it for about 5 weeks. And then I took everything and mixed it at my studio, 40 Sounds. So but Middle Farm, we recorded all the drums there and all the vocals. So it's got a lovely live room, which is perfect for drum sounds, for drum recordings. And it was nice. But I mean, we've always spoken about having real drums on Tesseract albums, and we've always wanted to, but it's always been an issue down to time and budget, usually, with just issues. We'd finish writing an album, then management or the label were like, we've got a tour for you, you need to get on this one. Like we had a Sonder, for example, the last album before this one. We'd finished writing it almost, and then this tour came up with Megadeth. So like, we've got to do that. But then it kind of meant we didn't have time to really put in as much time as we really would have liked to for Sonder. But with this one, weirdly, we kind of had COVID on our side. It kind of gave us an extra bit of time, like a couple of years, just to, again, no distractions, focus on writing. Just really focus on getting like a big chunk done. But yeah, we did Middle Farm for the drums and the vocals, and then the guitars. I tried the guitars there as well, but I did a few little bits at my studio, sort of like took a breather for about a month, then redid a few little bits at my place because it was all, digital amps and stuff, so I could redo little parts at my studio. So
yeah. I've interviewed the other guys 4 years ago when you were in Paris.
Oh yeah.
It was in Trabendo, the Trabendo.
I can't remember.
The other guys, they told me they are hyper autocritical, when you're in the studio. You like to to be perfect, or
sometimes too much perhaps, but yeah.
Yeah, and it was the case actually on this new album, right?
Yeah, there's always going to be a degree of that because it's a way, and we do it to each other as well, I think. Like sometimes like, oh yeah, I love that, or yeah, you can do that better, go on, or do that slightly different, maybe try this, or just experiment, try different things. But I think it's healthy to do that because it's how you just get better or different results. It's just a way of pushing yourselves. Not all the time, but sometimes. But we did do that with this album, but it felt not more relaxed, but just perhaps slightly different approaches. Just having like Peter Miles, the producer we worked with for the drums, just having him like an external person outside of the band, just influencing some of those decisions. And the same for Dan, because he had a vocal producer we worked with, which we haven't done before. So just having some external input and views on the production and parts of the writing as well was it's useful, just freshened it up because we hadn't really done that before. So
yeah. What did you try to improve on your instrument for this new
on
one?
guitar?
Yeah.
Oof, I don't know. It's always got to be tighter, and I always struggle with just keeping things in. There's so many layers in Tesseract. Like there's obviously the main rhythm guitars going on. There'll be like octaves of that going on, just like buried in the background, just to try and add some weight, fill things out. And then there's all the guitar clean layers, stupid amounts of octaves for that. But keeping that all in tune all the time is just a nightmare. I always struggle with that. So it's just making sure things are always set up and also when doing like the demo phases in the past when I've done demos, I wouldn't really be that bothered about tuning. I'd just be like, oh, I'm just getting the idea down. But sometimes you'll get the idea down and then trying to recreate that magic is actually, the magic is really can be quite difficult, and you end up with demoitis that you really like something about that first take you did. So I've started to make it's a very small thing, but it all adds up. Just I start to, even when I'm demoing, make sure everything's really well in tune just before I sit down and just start writing, just in case there's something that I do want to use, like a little lead line, down the road for the final album. It's in tune properly. I don't have to worry about it. Just little things like that, the intonation and things. So yeah.
So what you mean is, yeah, we can hear it actually. The devil is in the details, and you like to, and maybe one of the best album is just the 1 or 2% of the most detailed album that are the best.
Yeah, and it's good to have little raw bits as well if it is a little bit out of tune. Not out of tune, but if it's just like a little microtonal thing or a few cents and it's just adding a bit of character, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a blues note.
How do you work together with James, the other guitar player? Or you combined both guitars?
There's a little bit less of that on this album, which was a shame, just down to time. As Tesseract has always kind of been me writing like 95% of it. But he does write, some riffs and sends riff ideas over, like he wrote, not on this album, but on the last album, he wrote quite a few riffs. But it was mainly just, being honest, it was mainly just me, Jay, and Moss, and Dan, of course, in the studio. Then he kind of jammed with us later on. So yeah.
Did you write the music with the guitars that you have in your studio, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, the mayonnaise guitars. That's correct. Yeah.
How many strings?
7.
7 only.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's my favorite one. I don't know if this is being broadcast on video later or if it's just audio only, but it's my favorite one. The CTS mayonnaise CTS 7-string.
How many guitars? How many guitars did you take to write and to record the album?
Mainly 2. That black one, because that one's set up for B flat, and I've got a red one, which is another CTS, which is like my signature one, the red mayonnaise CTS, and that's set up in A. So I like to have one, each one set up in different tunings, for intonation things, intonation wise, you know what I mean. But I don't need any more than that. I've got more guitars, but that's just for live use. So that I've got some here that just actually, to be fair, I used to have some that I kept in the studio and some that I kept for live use, but now it's weird. You get like little intricacies of guitars, like those 2 guitars I just showed you are my favorite ones because they feel nice. The action's perfect. It's hard to describe. They just people have their favorite guitars, and the other 2 I've got, they're great, but they're kind of like my backup ones. Guitars have a magic as well, That's right. Yeah, the company is called Mayonnaise, and it's always the same model that I get because it's just my favorite shape and it's the most comfortable one. But each one they make me, they're all great, but they all just feel slightly different. Not in a bad way, just slightly different. They've each got their own character. And that's going to affect the way you write as well, I guess. Like having I put some different pickups on one of my other guitars and put that in a different tuning. And as soon as you start messing around with the different tones you can get from a guitar, I think that influences the way you write when you start getting different tones.
This is a concept album, War Being. It seems that the album was written by the Amos, your bass player, right?
That's correct. Yeah, the concept was all him.
Concept.
Yeah.
It's like kind of rock opera. It's with maybe sci-fi topics, right?
Yeah.
So
X and L.
Sorry?
I was gonna say X and L are the 2 main characters in it.
Yeah.
But
these are the characters that are battling in the video clip, right?
That's correct. Yep, that's right. Yep. Yeah. Kind of like a yin and yang thing.
Yeah. We can feel some kind of Japanese almost in the video clip,
Yeah, with the samurai characters. Yeah.
There is of course an amazing video clip for War Being song. like 10 minutes. I
Yeah, yeah.
was wondering if it's hard to film that, you know.
Well, that was all generated. Well, not generated. Produced by I can't remember his name now, but in Unreal Engine 5. So there's a team in the US doing that, and then there was another team doing all the motion capture stuff of the samurai fighters. So there's two teams dealing with that, and then us with Richard Oakes over here. We've worked with him loads of times. He's a great director. He was doing all the live shots of us, and then it was somebody's hard work. I think it was Rich actually putting it all together basically, and that was just I just do the music, and he had the hard job of mushing that all together because yeah, it was a big job for sure.
What about the vocals? I really feel, you know, it's really, really deep, you know, from your your single vocals, and especially I like the vocals on Legends, the song Legends.
Oh, Legion, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like kind of I have the impression that maybe it's sometimes it's not so far from Leprous style in the vocals,
Okay, yeah, perhaps.
because I feel that your singer he put some really high notes, you know.
Sure. I think with Legion is I mean, he's always Dan's technically great, obviously. He's he's great at what he does, but I remember Kat, the vocal producer, Dan was working with. Um, she was with us for the whole duration of us being in the studio. I think her and Peter Miles, who was going in and out of the vocal part as well, vocal production, they were trying to get some. They were just trying to prod him, get something a bit more out of him, just try and just go over the edge. Don't sit in your comfort zone. And I think with Legion, I don't know how they did it because I wasn't there when they were recording it, but they just did it in one take, that end section, and just tried to just do it, get angry about something or get delve deep basically. I really liked the result. I mean, I'm really happy with that song Legion because the first half of that, going on a slight tangent, we didn't know what to do with the song. It was just a 2-minute idea of a song, and I didn't know what to do with it because it'd been an idea for years and years. And then Jay, the drummer, really wanted to use it. So him and Amos had a jam while I was working on another song. They came back one night, said, "Oh, check this out. We had this nice little arrangement going on." I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Then I put some melody ideas to it and some rhythm guitars, and Dan did his bit, and it's just a nice. That felt like the most collaborative. I've said that right. Song on the album because it was just all of us just gelling together, doing our thing on it. So
Is
it's
it the
good.
most collaborative song at the
On
album?
that album, I think so. Yeah, that and probably Echoes, the second track. Um, Again, that we were fairly happy with that song, but it was missing a little something. That had a lot of collaboration from the two producers, Kat and Pete. They helped with just trying to spice things up with some new sounds. It's kind of like a bit of a Nine Inch Nailsy industrial edge slightly, and some of the
Mhm.
verses like they kind of helped add that and just flung in some nice chord changes. But not the kind of thing I'd usually do. So it's like, that's a nice breath of fresh air. It's just nice to mix things up a little bit, so it's not too repetitive, I guess. But it's still Tesseract, if you know what I mean.
Um, I was wondering if you're listening to metal every day,
Hmm.
or most of the time
Well,
the
no.
guys. No.
Well, kind of in a way because I work when I'm not doing Tesseract. I mix and master other bands, and 90% of them are usually metal bands or rock kind of bands. So I used to always listen to metal, but now I'm kind of surrounded by it. I'm either doing something of Tesseract or working on another band, which is metal. So usually the last thing I want to do is listen to some metal music in the evening. Sometimes. So I mean, to be fair, the other day I was listening to uh, Fredrik Fullendahl's solo project, Special Defects. It's like from the 90s. I love that album, but I hadn't listened to that in years. And it was quite nice just to be like, oh, yeah, that's still got a lot of groove. I like that. So, yeah, occasionally a little bit of metal.
Okay. And when you're listening to this album, of course, the guitar sound is super amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
how to reproduce the same sound? I saw you several times, like in Paris. I saw you at Hellfest, and each time
Oh, cool. That's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, the sound is always amazing. So yeah,
Oh,
how
cool.
to reproduce the amazing sound?
What, live?
Yeah, live.
That's a question for the sound guy. To be fair, I mean, it's always tough, that one, because there's so much. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, we try, and a lot of like the tones that I used for this album, we've captured onto the quad cortex units. So it's 99% the same tone with some little EQ tweaks that will suit live a bit better. Rolling off some more low end and some harsh frequencies. It's all kind of there, and it's just down to front of house just to sculpt it and make it gel in the room. Really, it's just all about damage control of how good or bad the room is.
And we were talking about French tours, French acts, and
Mm-hmm.
you will play worldwide for this new album.
Yeah,
How to
yeah.
prepare? How to prepare for that? How to prepare for
Whew.
a worldwide tour?
Yeah, still figuring that out. We're going out to America first in a few weeks. Um, I mean, the main thing is just being ready, rehearsed. Is the main thing for me personally, at least. It's just that's the biggest worry, tech wise as well. Like, making sure as much as we can, like all the MIDI changes and things, all programmed in for our patch changes, and trying to make sure little there's not much to fix or redo when it comes to rehearsing. So when we come to rehearse as a group, because we all live all over the world now. Well, Jay's in America, and the rest of us are scattered across England. Amos used to live in China, so it's always been a case of we rehearse for a couple of days before a tour. So it's nice just to have that couple of days just to focus on actually playing the music rather than having to tweak and fix things. So that's a big part for me. Just yeah,
What about
focusing on rehearsing.
What about Asia? Who
Oh, AJ, yeah, yeah,
Asia, I
yeah.
will say that it's maybe the less metal continent in the world,
Maybe.
or it used to be the less the less metal, but it's a huge progress, yeah, increasing continent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to expect because we haven't toured there before. It's our first
Okay.
time, and we've done India a lot. So doing India, then Asia, and Australia. In India and Australia are great, amazing scenes, but I really don't know what to expect from Japan and China. It's great that
You
we're going there. I'm really looking forward to it. But
festivals next year, maybe?
nothing's announced yet. I think we might even. I'm not sure if we're going to be doing any in 2024. We might even hold back and wait for 2025 even, because there's quite a lot going on in 2024. I'm sure we'll be doing at least a couple or a few in 2024, but it won't be a mass of them. So we might save that for the year after potentially. I'm not actually sure yet.
And to
That's still
finish,
being worked
there
on.
are some very special items for this new album, like Blu-ray box.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the collections, and did you see
I've
the items yet?
I've not physically. I mean, I've got a copy of the vinyl, which looks great. I really like that. I've seen several of I have seen some of the box sets, but I haven't seen it in months, so I can't actually remember them. But it's nice to have a big collection there for sure. Yeah.
And what about the Blu-ray? Well,
Blu-ray, yeah.
it's about the new video clips inside.
Yeah, it's got like a big like behind the scenes thing of us of how we recorded the album. So it's a lot of interviews of me, the rest of the band, and Kat, I think Pete as well, the producers. And there's also the Dolby Atmos mixes on there as well, I think. So yeah, which I haven't heard yet because we got Bruce from Pineapple Thief to mix that. He also did our surround sound
Sword, yeah.
mix. Bruce Sword, that's it. I can remember his second name. Thank you. He did our Polaris surround mix as well, and that was great. But I don't have an Atmos set up. And when he was doing that, I was moving house. So I was just kind of like, I trust you. You've done one before us. You've done one for us before. So I trust you, and I'm sure he smashed it. So the first time I get to hear it, it's actually going to be tomorrow at the listening party we've got. So I'm looking forward to hearing it in a 20.1 or whatever stupid amount of speakers it is.
Okay, and so you are talking about the US, Europe, maybe next year or this year not, but next year? Will you
Yeah,
tour?
we've got US this year,
Yeah.
literally next month, and then Europe 2024. Doing Europe and the UK. And that's all we've got really penciled in, really, just those 3 tours. But that's a good, like, that's covering us from now up until about May time. So it's a lot of touring, and then we'll figure out the rest of the touring cycle after that, I guess.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Akel, for this
Thank you,
interview.
man.
It's amazing,
It's very kind.
I feel
Thank you.
one of the best act this year, and
No,
maybe probably the best album from Tesseract ever. So
it's
congrats
very sweet to hear. Thank you. I enjoyed doing it, and thank you. Appreciate that. It's very kind of you.
and have a
Thank you.
nice tour in the US in the next days. Thank you.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see you in one of the French shows.
The French shows in Paris, especially.
Yeah,
I will be
yeah,
there.
cool.
Thank
Nice
you.
one. Look forward to it, mate. Thank you, man.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Bye. Yeah.
Thanks for your time.